Frame or game? Which one do men need the most? All right, what's up, YouTube? I want to do a little game. I call this Who's Going to Call Next, okay? So we're going to look at this video, and I want you to watch this video and just think about, after these two people start fighting, think about who's going to call who next to try and fix it. Okay, let's do the first one. By the way, I do not advocate for hitting of females. Okay, so in this situation, who do you think is going to call first to fix this? Do you think the guy's going to call the woman, or you think the woman's going to call the guy? I would guess that it would probably be the woman calling the guy, because the guy was he wasn't really moved by her burst of rage. Okay, now let's compare that against this one. Okay, let's watch this one.
I saw you last night.
What?
That girl.
What girl?
That girl last night in the club.
Oh no, she's just a friend. Like, it's no big deal. Like,
Oh, please, I saw her all over you.
You're getting worked up over nothing. Like, honestly.
Okay, so in this case, who do you think is going to call who back? This one might be a little bit more difficult. I would imagine that this woman is pretty hooked on this guy. So I'd imagine that the girl is going to call him back. Okay, let's try this one here. Okay, so do you think the guy might call the girl, or the girl might call the guy? This one might be a bit more difficult. I'm not fluent in Chinese, but I would imagine from her emotional reaction, it's a good chance that she's probably going to call him back, right? Let's watch another one. Okay, so who do you think is going to call who back this time? You think it's going to be the woman calling the man, or the man calling the woman? And so I think what we're seeing now is a kind of a trend, as the person leaving first and the person who's going to call back first. Okay, let's watch another one.
Please don't end it now. Start going more.
Oh, I don't even care! I like it!
Okay, so who do you think in this situation is going to call back whom? I would guess in this situation, I think that girl is probably going to be the one calling back. She's probably going to be the one calling back the guy, right? Okay, so let's look at another video, because I think that this is a interesting one. So we're gonna check another one here. Okay, and here we go. Find our video here. And this is another example. And I want you to look at the video, and I want you to think about, I want you to just think about the whole situation from that guy's perspective, and think about what he is doing and what he should do. Okay, here we go.
Everyone else
Not this one.
catch me! What's the problem?
Okay, here we go. So apparently these two are on some kind of trip, and they break out in a fight in the middle of a trip overseas. Okay, let's watch this one.
Here for a reason. I can't deal with this.
I can't do it! My dad told me not to do it, but I did it! I'm not
Listen, hey, would you listen to me for a second? Just listen to me. Why? What's your problem? I spent all this money on this trip.
The anal sucks!
All right, so we saw that skit, or that interaction, and clearly the man is very invested in the female's behavior and that relationship. Okay, so we can ask, of course, who's going to call back whom, but this situation, I'm sure it's almost 100% that guy is going to try and fix that situation, right? He's going to try and fix it. He's going to try and save that situation, right? And so, I want to put them back on the screen so you guys can see this, okay? So what I want you to think about in this situation is, what is the best thing for this guy to have done?
Listen, hey, would you listen to me for a second? Just listen to me.
Okay, so she's hysterical, he's emotional, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to make this video. I want to talk about the difference between game and frame, okay? And so, you know what, let's watch another video, because this is important too. Aside from the emotional part, I want you to look at this video, and there's another aspect to the frame game thing that's really important, especially when you're talking about frame, okay? Watch this video, and I want you to think about who is in control of this relationship, okay?
Come on, G, stop. You playing, right? Stop fucking playing with me, bro. You talk to my whole brother,
I don't
G.
get, why are you talking about him? I'm talking about
That's
you.
my brother. We not finna do that shit at
Oh,
all.
well, we finna do it
Watch
right
out, bro. The fuck is wrong with you? Your ass tripping, G.
You don't continue fucking with these bum bitches I see.
It is what it is, G. Look,
It's
you
not
talk to
though,
my
'cause I
brother.
want-
You talk
So
to
you
my
not,
bro.
so you don't wanna fuck me?
No, I don't.
Why not?
Do you talk to my brother? Watch out.
Why?
G, cuz we can't do this. Alright, what?
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Look, come on, let me tell you something. Shit up.
Okay, so, oh Lord, goodness gracious. Gentlemen, who's in control of this relationship? Is that man in control, or is that woman in control? I mean, this is an easy one. The woman is in full control of that man. And the reason why is because, at the beginning, I think it started with maybe she was flirting with his brother or a good friend of his. And all she had to do was make a sexual advance and then pretend like she was going to walk away. And the man jumped right up, right? And so one of the really important parts I feel about frame is that you have control over your sexual appetite. You can't have that be used against you. But you know what? I want to just go through what I think are the differences between frame and game, okay? So if you look at this as a skills, as a matrix, if you will, and game in terms of what the skill set is, who are the men that need it, where do those men get their power from, and you should rely on what if you're going to use it, okay? So we're going to start with game in terms of a skill set. Now, I would say that the game skill set is a lot like, it's like poetry or writing prose, right? It's artistic. You know what to say, you know how to say it, you can read behavior, you can read body language, and you're paying attention to a lot of those cues, and you can kind of feel those things out, right? So I see game as being in tune with that. Understanding, like, you know, she's standing this way, she's sitting this way, like she's opening herself, those kinds of things, right? And I see frame a lot like physics or statics. Like how much stress, how much load, like where's the breaking point, right? So this is a very, scientific way of looking at it. How much are you willing to tolerate before you say, that's enough, I'm not doing anymore, that's enough for me? And so that skill set for men is basically in all types of how she talks to me, the way she plays sex games with me, the way she interacts with me before, after work. There's only so much pull or give and take that I can tolerate. If it's past this stress limit, I can't do it, okay? Now, who needs game? I would say that for game, people that need game are non-select men. So men who are going to have to kind of, well, I mean, I guess that's what game is. PUA is trying to manufacture attraction. But I would say, because I don't think manufacturing attraction is necessarily possible. But what I will say is, if you're a guy in a relationship, let's say that your wife goes out and she works, and you're a normal guy, you're not really built or anything like that. You're not super tall. You're not like a guy that stands out every time you walk out the door. So your wife is probably going out around men that are more select, more taller, more muscular. And even though she may not act in those impulses. It's still the fact that she's walking past those men and coming back to a shorter, smaller statured, whatever man. And that man is going to have to say something to kind of get her in the mood or whatever. And that leads to the second point, which is mood making, or for mood makers, which is saying the right thing to get the woman to say, you know what, I want to be with this guy right now. Now, it's different if you are 6'6", 270-pound, ripped to shreds guy, and your little petite wife comes home and she looks as you undress, and all you have to do is you already have established your frame, and you just look at her like, I'll break you in half, and I know you want it, and that's it. You're done. You're not. There's no game there. But if you're the regular guy, sometimes you gotta say the thing that makes the mood, or kind of gets her to remember that you're kind of an interesting, special guy, or what have you, right? And so that's why I see where game is needed for guys. For frame, and I would say that frame is needed for all men. It is needed for all men. And we saw in this last video, I'm gonna go back to it so you guys can see it. In this video here, this man is in dire need of frame. And when I say frame, I mean not just being able to control, what you will and won't tolerate, but being in control of your sexual nature. In this TikTok, we can see that this man, the minute she alludes to taking away the sex, he falls right back into line, right back in the line. And either you could say, I'm not going to let you play sex games with me, A, or B, I'm not controlled by my sex anyways, so you can't play that card with me. I think, and we'll go to where power comes from with game. I think power from game comes from understanding how women are, okay? So if you spend a lot of time understanding how women's emotions flow and how they kind of manifest certain things, yeah, game is, that's for you. That's where people that are, gaming, that's where their power comes from. They know how to kind of push women's buttons, and they can read women and things of that nature. But I would say that the power from frame comes from a man's willingness to just walk away. Like, I don't want to play this game anymore. It's not worth it. I have better things to do. I'm out. And again, that's a very logical, scientific way of looking at it. Hey, listen, I got my place. It's cool that you live here. I like when you come over and we hang out and it's cool, but you're going too far with this. I'll let you know 1 or 2 times. And then after that, hey, I'm done with this. I'm good with this. And I'm not interested in trying to figure out your behavior. I don't care about that. I'm living my life. I got stuff to do. Either you want to fit in it or you don't. And lastly, I would say you should rely on game if you care about learning women's nature. So if you are in tune with women's nature, or you have a very strong interest in it, I think game is great for you. And in a way, I think if you're kind of a rigid, stiff guy and you learn a little bit of game, you can enhance your relationship with a woman. Certainly you can. But I would say that you should rely on, if your focus is on stuff besides women, you should rely on frame, right? If you got stuff to do, you have 2, 3 jobs, whatever, you come home and your woman is just not in the right place that you want her, you could just walk away from that. And so when I compare frame and game, this is what I'm thinking about. Am I getting what I'm looking for inside of this kind of expectation box for the woman I'm dealing with? And if I'm not getting that, I'll walk away. As opposed to the game, which I see as almost kind of like, well, if a woman's acting a certain way, I can kind of, say the right thing to her, or understand her emotional nature to kind of manipulate her behavior. And when I say with frame, I would say that if you're 100% frame and 0% game, you don't even care. If you're 100% game and 0% frame, you're probably, let me see if I can find it. You're probably this guy. This guy is probably about 100% game, 98% game, and like 2-3% frame. He shows a little bit of frame standing up to her, but it falls pretty quickly, right? So to end this, I want to show you an example of game. And if you know the Mac, this is this is probably like game level 10,000, right? So this is Superman game here, okay?
Everything's gonna be all right. I'm gonna be everything to you. I'm gonna be your father. I'm gonna be your friend. I'm gonna be your lover. But you gotta believe in me. You gotta believe that everything I tell you to do is for the best.
Okay. So, you know, that's an example in my book of what game is, right? Like, he can charm the pants off of, you know, whatever, however you want to express it. But game is he understands how to play the push and pull and what she wants to hear and that part of it, right? Now, I want you to see the antithesis of this, okay? And these are clips from, so this is fair use. These are clips from, this is a clip from some movie. So,
About what?
Angela, lay off. I'm getting sick of this.
Oh, then leave.
You keep it up, and that's just what I'm gonna do.
okay, so we got the dare about, are you willing to leave or not, right? Okay, so I want you to see this interaction, the interaction right at the end of this, okay? So he goes through a little bit of fighting with, I think it's his baby mother or whatever, the mother of his children, and his wife, who's the one who dared him to leave. She basically, you know, she was trying to call his bluff. And I think this is a good example of frame, and I want you to take a look at it.
Baby, Marcus, where are you going?
Okay, so there it is, right? So he's willing to walk away from just a situation that he just didn't see as fitting for him, right? And I you know, it's kind of rudimentary because you don't know the full context of what happened in this movie, but what it basically illustrates is that she dared him to walk away. He said, you know what, I'm fine with that. And so to end this off on my 3 points here, okay? So point one I want to say is, how much do you care about understanding women? If you really care about learning the nature of women, I think there's some room in your repertoire for game, okay? If you have a passion about how can I figure out women, well, I want to understand women's emotions, their ebbs and flows and all of that. If you have an interest in that, you can take your frame and add some game on top of it. And I don't hate you for doing that. Kudos to you. But if you're the kind of person who says, you know what, I'm building a business, I got my thing going over here, and I just want somebody that's going to fit in my space, and if I don't find anybody that's fit in my space, so be it. And that pretty much makes you 100% frame and like 0% game. And to be honest with you, I can understand that. For some guys, the expenditure of energy and effort is just not really, a good cost benefit balance, right? So the second question is, how much are you willing to put up with to get regular sex? Because for some men, regular sex is so important to them that they are basically willing to throw away all of their frame and just turn into a game machine. Say what I gotta say so I can get some. And to be honest with you, and I don't want to preach on this, but I think one of the main problems with what has happened to masculinity in the last, 5-10 years or so, is that men worship sex. Like, men will do anything to get an opportunity for sex. And men will just totally tear down their frame voluntarily just for an opportunity at sex. And I think so many men have forgotten that life for men is worth much more than sexual opportunity. There are men who are extremely select men who have all the sex they want. And these men are still going out trying to do incredible things, right? Why? Because life is more for men than just getting coochie. It's more that, and if you're obsessed with getting tail, you have to really look at yourself and think about what you're doing with yourself. And if you're dealing with a woman who is basically doing what the woman in the previous video was doing by basically leading her boyfriend around by the tail, saying, well, if you don't do what I say, I'll take this punani away. And he falls right back in line. If you're that kind of guy, you got to look in the mirror, man. You got to look in the mirror, man. Like, sex is not worth it's not worth your dignity. And if you're on OnlyFans doing that kind of stuff where you're basically simping for a woman, you're basically saying that my attention, my dignity, who I am as a man can be bought for a little bit of punani. And women, there's no woman that's going to respect that. How can she respect that? If you are the guy that she finally gets, she'll know that another woman can walk by and wave her punani in your face. And if she's the least bit cute, there you go. And not just there you go away from her, but there you go away from whatever your purpose, your mission is, to just, oh, another chance. And the last point I want to make is, how willing are you to walk away at any time? And I think this here is the most powerful thing that men have. I did an earlier video about this. A man's ability to say, you know what, this is enough. I'm not going to do this. I can't do this. Like, you got to find somebody else. Like, if more men were willing to do that, we would probably see a lot different behavior from women, especially on social media. A lot of what we see on social media is basically, I'll do anything if you give me a chance to get some of your punani, right? Now imagine if you just had a percentage of men just say, you know what, I'm not doing this. I'm not liking social media posts. I'm not running after these girls anymore. I got other stuff to do. You dedicate yourself to, I'm going to empower myself, better myself, whatever. And then focus on what you won't tolerate and what you're doing to build your life. And then when a woman comes inside of that, it's not like she can lead you around by the tail by saying, you know, I'll take my punani and walk out the door. You say, okay, fine. I was alone before you got here. I'll be alone after you leave. And better yet, sooner or later, you're going to leave. So I think Black Ram 313 talks about how the catch and release method, they're going to leave. And so if you're going to spend your whole time chasing, you're wasting your time even more. Just be yourself. You can learn a little bit of game so you can play the game when you have a chance to talk to a woman, but throw the reel out. You don't catch anything? Okay, fine. Go back to your life. And with that, guys, I want to end this video. Thank you guys for listening, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you later.